Hoover's Rotten Apple, Chapter 44. An air of placid despondence hung over Dale and Elmer as they perambulated barefoot along the sun-baked beach. They abandoned their truck a quarter-mile back, at a location where the road ran not only parallel, but a mere away from the river. Inside the lone truck was nearly every one of Dale and Elmer's belongings, with the exception of their currently sported prison stripes and the flask Dale kept in his breast pocket as a good luck charm. As their toes stepped further into the sand, both silently appreciated the sweet, misty breeze. They absorbed the blithe serenade of faraway birds, and they snuggled with the sun's last few rays of warmth before its internment. "Ain't we just a couple of inmates on death row?" Elmer attempted an irresolute smile. "And this scene? This whole picture? Well, I guess it's our last meal, ain't it?" Dale chewed his tongue. "A couple of guys can only get so far before running out of luck. That day might not come today, but I got a feeling. I can't wait for this whole mess to be over with. I really can't. All we gotta do is find Freddy, find out what he knows about Hobo Crow, and then I guess we'll split. You can go live your life however you see fit, and I'll do what I can to help the world and clear our names." "Yeah," Elmer croaked. "Guess that'll be the end of us. You'll go after Hobo Crow, and I'll be living alone. I guess you'll want to be with Rita after you finish up with Hobo Crow. Understandable. I'll be sure to attend your shows." "Yep, I guess that'll be how our story goes," Dale mumbled. The two walked on until black infected the sky and all which resided under it. "You know, I just want to let you know." Elmer stopped walking. At his foot was a stone the size and shape of a saucer. He lifted it, tested its weight, and skipped it into the stream. The stone slapped the water 3 times before sinking. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." "Elmer, you don't gotta apologize for nothing." "I do. I've been a bastard to you. You was a good kid. You would have done well in the mug. Instead, I had to bust us out and dragged us through this freak show." Elmer sniffled. "I've got you beaten up, bit, chased, and knocked out." Dale slung an arm around Elmer's shoulder. "It's all right, Elmer. Yeah, we've gone through some tough times, but at least I wasn't alone through them tough times. You was always standing by me." "Bullshit." Elmer spoke without qualm. "I left your side plenty of times. Back at the county fair, you was getting chased by that Palmer while I was eating like a dog. Or back at the Carr farm, you was about to be hung, and I took off sprinting to nowhere. I was a bastard to you, Dale, a bastard."
"Well, don't be crying about what you did back then. We'll just have to do better next time."
Dale's pause was sprinkled with the ghostly moans of faraway slaving prisoners. Dale's ears perked. He looked to Elmer and nodded.
"We'll just have to do better now. Put on your shoes."
Elmer and Dale crawled up the riverbank, into the surrounding pea field, and towards the road where Freddy labored. The chain gang echoed their tuneless sorrow songs while beating time with their sledges. As Dale and Elmer broke row after row of pea plants, the ignominious blues intensified, until each plea towards their providences and each stump of their hammers transformed Dale and Elmer's bones into dry ice. The chain gang was now close enough for the prisoners' chastised countenances to be viewed without the light provided from the lantern-bearing horseback guards. "Do you see Freddy?" Elmer asked. The two scanned the line of roadside slaves.
"There he is,"
Dale said, pointing to the most subordinate and squalid figure standing in line. The two inched closer to Freddy when a passing guard captured them in his lantern's paralyzing shine. "Hey, you!" the cloaked guard hollered. Dale began intuitively raising hands above his head. "Yeah, you puny devil!" The guard drew his whip. Elmer latched onto Dale's collar and anchored him to the field's floor as the guard said, "Get back to work, some bitch!" and cracked his whip onto Freddy's back. Freddy's labor hastened instantaneously, and the guard continued down the line. It would be another minute or so before the guard circled back around to Freddy. Dale and Elmer took advantage of the gap by jumping from the pea field and to Freddy's side. A garden of earthly aroma steamed from the prisoners. Soil moistened with sweat and topped with rock powder was crusted onto the skin of one and all. The smelly concoction was sewn into their striped clothing and running through the trenches, lacerating their backs. The odor triggered Dale's gag reflex, which in return captured Freddy's attention.
Boys, what are you fellas doing here?
He asked in confusion. He'd lost a tooth since their last meeting, and the other teeth were caked in lemon-colored pillows of plaque. Quiet down, Freddy, Elmer whispered. We came here to talk, but we gotta talk quickly.
The warden's been looking for you two,
Freddy said as he worked.
He's got a team out searching for y'all right now.
Elmer pressed a finger to Freddy's bewhiskered lips. I says, hush up. We know Blue's looking for us, but he ain't finding us. Now speak quick and speak quiet. Who is Hobo Crow?
Can't we save that until after y'all break me out?
Freddy asked. We didn't come here to break you out, Freddy. Dale just needs to know what you know about Hobo Crow, and I just want to wish you a last goodbye. For the first time since Dale and Elmer's arrival, Freddy's labor decreased. But before he spoke, he, Dale, and Elmer all heard, It ain't gonna work, you know. The nonentity chained to Freddy spoke without diluting his volume in the slightest. He was unquestionably the Chain Gang Choir's bass vocalist. His voice was felt just as powerfully as it was heard. You ain't gonna escape, and if you do, you ain't gonna live happily. No one escapes and comes to enjoy their freedom. The free world will chew an escapee up and spit him out like a stale piece of gum. They'll hunt you and kill you like game. Worry about your own business. We ain't dealing with you anyhow, Elmer said. I don't want y'all to bust me out. Them guards hate us chain gang workers enough, even if we follow all them rules. Imagine how pissed they'd be if I stepped out of line, like you three gentlemen are doing now. Are you deaf? I just said we ain't busting anyone. Elmer was interrupted by the weight of a chain falling on his foot. He turned and found that the chains belonged to Freddy. As he was speaking with Freddy's companion, Dale began picking at the fetters binding Freddy's waist to the rest of the gang. The lock was stuffed with crumbles of limestone. Dale couldn't rely on any sense besides that of touch, and all he had to work with were 2 pins he had smuggled inside his empty Hotel Skelter flask. Yet he freed Freddy nonetheless. Dale, you did it! Elmer's eyes burned with tears. You crazy bastard, you actually broke him out.
I know.
Freddy started with newfound sobriety.
I'm free.
Quit yapping and get back to work, a guard yelled, whipping a lock of hair off Freddy's head. Freddy's eyes lowered and his sledge rose. Hey, cut that out, Elmer scolded, hitting the sledge out of Freddy's hands. This is the plan now. When Dale says it's okay, we're gonna dive on into those peas and crawl like hell until we reach that river. You think you can manage that?
I'm pretty tired, and I don't feel too good, but...
Freddy flashed back to the flagrant interrogations, the boiling workdays, and the countless floggings.
Anything to escape this hell. All right, everybody,
Dale whispered in protestation.
No guards are looking. Let's go now.
The 3 dived into the peas and slithered away exactly as planned, like hell. Soon the field hollers diminished to murmurs, and the line of workers disappeared into the peas. The field came to an end. It dipped into the river's beach, and the 3 boys dipped with it. That was the end of Dale and Elmer's run. The 2 sat in the sand, stretching and cracking themselves leisurely as a couple of layabouts. As Elmer wiped a veil of dust from his face, Freddy strode past him and into the stream. He walked as though the current was a breeze and refused to cease until all but his head was submerged. Dale and Elmer examined Freddy with crooked brows. Freddy gurgled an undiscernible statement from the river. What was that? Elmer asked.
I says I'm free.
Freddy howled to the moon and began clawing away at his stripes.
I'm free, oh Lord, I'm free.
He sobbed, splitting his shirt in half down the center with unprecedented ardency.
I'm free at last, oh God, thank you.
Freddy, if you don't quiet down, they'll hear you, Elmer snapped. Freddy ignored the remark, instead opting to withdraw his arms from their sleeves and shout,
Freedom! Freedom, bloody freedom!
Before Dale became too mesmerized by Freddy's perversity, Elmer smote Dale's shoulder and said, Come on, let's fish him out before he gets hypothermia or drowns or something. Within their first 3 lunges into the stream, both Dale and Elmer were toppled by the current as though they were simply a pair of dominoes. Each resurfaced, grabbed Freddy by a different limb, and dragged. Dale attempted to reel him to shore while Elmer endeavored to push him under so as to silence his howls. No progress was made by either, and all the while Freddy continued chanting, "I'm free, I'm free, I'm free," completely ignorant to the fact that Dale and Elmer were pulling him as though he was wad of taffy. "Quiet down, Freddy," Elmer whispered, gagging Freddy with his fist. "Please just shut up! Just shut!" A barrage of submachine gun bullets then rained into the river, and the entire world shut up. "Show yourself with your hands in the air. I have 3 skilled men with 3 loaded guns, each one aimed at one of you. I repeat, show yourself and step forward." Just as promised, 3 gunmen stood along the line where P-Field transformed into Riverbank. A 4th lantern-bearing man stood among the gunmen. The lantern light revealed an eye-patched Warden Blue. Realizing he stood amid the sights of a killing machine, Dale obliged to Blue's orders with military obedience. "Now step forward," Blue commanded. Dale's heart was an inferno-powered steam locomotive. He stepped out from the water and onto the beach, remaining in the machine gun's line of fire all the while. "Alrighty, folks, rain hell on these bitches on my command," Blue said. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. Fire, fire, fire! Gunfire cracked through the night, followed by 4 tremendous echoes thundering from each horizon. Everybody dropped to their stomachs. Dale, Elmer, Freddy, the gunners, and Blue. For the longest time, only the river's incessant lapping was heard. That was, until a baritone voice rang down from the P-Field. "Howdy, fellas. Now just hold still as the warden told you, and this won't take long at all." Sheriff Palmer stepped into the light of Blue's fallen lamp. "First, I'm gonna kill you, the sumbitch who got away from me and stole my car." He raised his pistol in Dale's direction. Dale's mind held no doubt whether Palmer pointed it towards anyone else. His eyes closed, yet tears escaped all the same. The last image Dale saw was a picturesque Rita, standing before a scenic waterfall. He saw himself as well, dressed all tidy and dapper. The imaginary Dale was addressing the imaginary Rita on bended knee. In Dale's hand was an imaginary diamond ring. Rita was crying imaginary tears, nodding, and fanning herself from the imaginary heat. But before she said yes, Palmer pulled the trigger. Dale's back hit the muddy sand. Elmer wasn't provided the chance to begin lamenting before the next gunshot rang into the night. This time, Freddy dropped. Elmer tried catching Freddy but lost his footing and tumbled as well. Every inch below Freddy's waist was slicked in a transparent film of blood, and spilling from his torn stomach was a mysterious mush of steaming organs. Elmer tried to repair Freddy. He tried poking Freddy's digestive tract back into its natural location, but failed. He tried pinching the bullet wound shut, but failed. He tried mopping the blood up with his bare hands, but failed. Elmer found it impossible to even conjure a reassuring lie to feed Freddy. All the while, Palmer was taking aim once more. Elmer was in his sights. A finger was on his trigger. A smile was brewing under his mustache. "Fire!" cried a wounded gunman. Palmer blinked. "I will. Just give me a second." He refocused on Elmer, but was unable to shoot, for the exact same gunman yelled once more, "No! Fire!" This time, the gunman was pointing at Blue's fallen lantern. The lantern's light had been gradually swelling throughout Palmer's massacre. Its heat increased correspondingly, but Palmer took no notice of it until it was too late. The leaking lantern and all the surrounding pea plants exploded into flames. An unsurmountable wall of fire blazed in every direction, too bright and fast for the eye to comprehend. The blasting heat waves contained more force than the river's current. Its temperature was high enough to be felt on the beach and by the roadside prisoners alike. Feeling it worst of all, however, were those inside the burning field. With an ignited pant leg, the wounded gunman catapulted himself over the bank and rolled into the waters, completely ignoring Elmer, Dale, and Freddy on his way. Palmer tried following suit but failed. Blocking his path to safety was Blue, who was bleeding worse than a slaughterhouse, but hadn't been drained of his fighting spirit. "You bitch! Them's was my kills!" Blue growled, hooking Palmer in the jaw. The two rumbled in the steaming ashes, feral as two stray cats. Bites, scratches, slurs, hisses, all were to be expected and more. There was no pleasure watching the two burning men tear each other to pieces, so Elmer didn't. He instead continued cradling Freddy, who breathed slower than a fish minutes out of water. "It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay." His words were hardly distinguishable through all the violent sobs in between.
"Hey, we gotta get out of here now!"
someone cried, lifting Elmer onto his feet.
"Once Palmer and Blue stop fighting each other, they'll come after us. Come on, god damn it!"
"You think I care? I don't. I don't care about none of this no more. It ain't worth it."
"Elmer, look at me!"
It was Dale speaking. He was alive and well. He wasn't even pale in the face.
"I ain't gonna let you die for no good reason. We said we was gonna do better, so let's do better."
There was a bullet hole through Dale's chest. The hole traveled directly through his chest pocket. What it failed to travel through was a metal flask carried within his pocket. Elmer continued sobbing over Dale's pleas and only hushed when Freddy croaked the first of his final words.
"Listen to him, Elmer. Get out of here. It's dangerous here."
"Fine," Elmer said reluctantly, "but I ain't gonna leave you to rot." He slowly hauled Freddy through the sand, ceasing to bother about speed or his own safety. All he wanted was to stay with Freddy while he remained alive. "I'm sorry, bud," he bawled. "I shouldn't have told you to shut up. You were free and I told you to shut up."
"Don't be sorry, Elmer. I'm the one who got us into this mess. You was only trying to do good."
Freddy regurgitated a shot of blood and continued.
"I guess you'll need to know the name of that hobo crow. Lloyd, that's his name. The murderer. Lloyd."
"Not now. We gotta get you fixed up first. We'll worry about Lloyd later."
"Don't kid yourself, Elmer. You and I both know there ain't no fixing me up, and there ain't no later. Now let me speak. He lives in Almond City. You know that already. What you don't know about is the Hotel Skelter. He don't got no home, but he got Hotel Skelter. Second story, room 207. That's his room. He's nearly never home from 1 to 4. Them's the best times to ambush him."
Freddy was succumbed by a harsh coughing fit and finished with,
"Go do what I should have done instead of getting arrested. You know where he is, so go catch that bastard. And Elmer, thank you for teaching me how to fish when we was little. Thank you for becoming a good pickpocket as I taught you. And thank you for letting me die a free man."
"No, Freddy, you don't need to thank me. Please just." Elmer had a reason worth crying for nearly every epoch of his past 20 years, yet he remained dry. Every tear he should have cried throughout his droughted life poured out unforgivingly as Freddy's heart took its final beat.
"Come on,"
Dale repeated himself.
"let's go. Let's go far, far away."
Chapter 45. Only a twisted oak fence gate, with trenches of dehydration running vertically along every aged post, marked Freddy's final resting place. The fence line dated back to the early 19th century, and its gate hadn't been used but a handful of occasions since its construction. The posts separated absolutely nothing. An infinity of wild grassland stood both before and behind the fence. Apart from Freddy's hand-dug grave, the land soil was completely unbroken. The path leading to such tranquil isolation wasn't a complete road as much as it was two parallel trails of compact grass for an automobile's tires to follow, and it hadn't been used more than twice per year. Dale stood in the unbroken wind, made more powerful by the area's lack of shelter belts, hills, or homes. He couldn't stop shaking, for the endless whirl had yet to draw warmth from the morning's motionless crimson sky. He couldn't stop crying, for his eyes used tears to defend themselves from the wind. And with credit due once more to the wind's whooshing in his ears, he hardly heard his own woeful thoughts. Yet he heard the dehydrated ground snapping and crunching as Elmer approached the grave. Elmer carried with him a fistful of stray flowers he'd spent the previous 15 minutes collecting. He laid the wildflowers on Freddy's burial plot. "There you go, buddy," he gulped. "It ain't much, but there you go." The two stood a while longer. Discomforted by the lingering silence, Dale began humming the chorus to the song he and Elmer appreciated so long ago. He hummed the chorus to "Life is Just a Bowl of Cherries" by Rudy Valley. As Dale concluded his verse, Elmer spoke. You know, I wasn't locked up because my daddy robbed banks. He spoke with a monotonous tone of a sinner in a confessional. They never even mentioned banks during the court case. No, what I got arrested for was pickpocketing. I went to a concert and snagged enough cash to last me till the end of my life. I didn't even go to the concert to pick, though. I just went to listen to some music, but everyone there was dressed all pretty. I did only come for the music, though. Just for that song, in fact. If you're accusing yourself of being a coward because you didn't get locked up for something brilliant, I advise you choose another example. I was a coward, don't act like I wasn't. And I escaped the mug because I was a coward, too. My pop was getting transferred there, and I didn't want to face him, so I skedaddled. But I ain't crying about it, and I ain't begging for sympathy. I'm just saying, let's go to Almond City and end this once and for all. Let's find that hobo crow, that Lloyd, I mean, and let's do what's right for once.
You're going to help me catch Lloyd?
Elmer nodded. Dale sacrificed a moment for reconsideration, yet Elmer lost no confidence in his remark. Dale turned to their pickup truck and said,
Well then, how about you and I go on a little drive to Almond City?
I'd like that, Elmer said. I'd like that a lot.